Hi, I am back here doing some more systems of linear equations. We're doing graphing, so you have two formulas here. This is the point-slope form. So when we're doing point-slope form, if you are not familiar with it, I do have a playlist on point-slope form, so please check that out. I have about 15 videos in there that you can look at if you are in need of help with it. I'm also going to be doing another video which is a little cheat sheet kind of notes page that I will have, but we're going to talk about this real brief. So when I'm looking at these two equations, the first thing I can find easily in point-slope form is our slope. Our slope is right after the equal sign and right before the x. So in this case, for this one, my slope right here is a negative 2/3. So I'm just going to write that out right now and put that part out, at least for both of these equations. So I write that, and then my slope on this one, that's sandwiched between the equal sign and the x, is the 2. So again, when we're graphing on a graph, it's really helpful for our slopes to be in fraction form. So since it's not in a fraction and it's a whole number, we are actually going to just put it over 1 because that's going to help us when we're graphing and we do our rise and our run. Now, the tricky part here is our slope, or point. The point in the equation, the x-coordinate is always after the x variable. The y-coordinate is always after the y variable. Now, the equation, when we write it out, looks like this. This is just a generalized equation for this. Y minus y1, which is equal to m, which is your slope, and then usually in parentheses, x minus x1. So we have that. Now, because these are minus after the x and the y, the number that follows it indicates the opposite of what it is. So like this says minus 1. That means that that number is a positive 1. That's why it says minus 1. If there was a negative number, then it would end up being minus a negative, which would then be a positive number. Now, this number has that right here. So if you look at this one, if I plug in y minus a negative 1, minus a negative actually makes it plus 1. It's a little confusing for people, but again, when you do this, just remember that when you're looking at your x and y coordinates for the point, it's always the opposite of whatever you see the sign in front of it. So in this case, for the first one, our point here, our x coordinate, it says minus 1. So that means that the x coordinate for this that we're going to start with is actually a positive 1. And then we look at this one, we have a plus 1. So it's the opposite of that, which would be a minus 1 for the y. And so we would put that. Now, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing over here. It's minus 6, so it's the opposite of that, which is plus 6. And then the minus 1 right here, which is going to be an opposite, which is plus 1. I'm going to do a second part to this, so I'm going to show you the graphing and the next part of this, so look for that. And if you want more questions like this, you can find them on my YouTube channel, You Want Algebra. Check them out under the Systems of Linear Equations section.